Welcome to our regularly scheduled board meeting. Let's get started. The date, location, and time of this regular meeting were emailed to the Independent Press, Bloomfield Life, the Star Ledger, the Township Clerk of the Township of Bloomfield, and posted on the Bloomfield School District website on January 7th, 2021. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Guo, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Mr. Berger.
Present.
Ms. Dudley. Ms. Green. Mr. Heller.
Present.
Mr. Morse.
Present.
Ms. Salinas. Vice President Walker.
Present.
President Fishman.
Here. We are on to 2A, a resolution to meet in executive session. Be it resolved, the Bloomfield Board of Education will adjourn into closed meeting to discuss the items which fall in exception of our open meetings policy and permits the board to have private discussion since it deals with specific exceptions contained in NJSA 10:4-12B, specifically matters contained rendered confidential by federal, state, or court ruling. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. We will see you all in approximately 1 hour. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to our public portion of our meeting. We are going to start tonight's meeting with a couple presentations. The first one will be Sustainable Jersey Schools, and that is going to be by Mr. Lou Capella. Lou, the floor is yours.
We're just gathering everybody right now.
In the meantime, we'll foreshadow what's happening after Lou. We will get an update on our race card project at BHS from Mr. Orlovsky, Ms. Corey, and Mayers.
Lou, you're ready to go when you are.
Up here, or really kind of share? You want me up here?
Where's the computer? In the library.
JD again.
He's got to bring up this presentation.
Are we good?
Jill, give us a minute. We'll just let everybody in because we were in executive. They're just getting set up. Give us about a minute or two.
Is it? What's it logged in as?
It's the teacher's log.
Okay, I shared it to this, so I'll just open the drive.
I imagine you'll just take over the meeting.
Yeah, you'll have to present.
Okay, tell me what to do.
Shared.
There we go.
I think if you,
So I gotta go in here.
Right.
And then go to present.
right.
Board members, I'm
What am I
going to leave
doing, the
this
whole
on.
window?
The whole screen,
Entire
yeah.
screen?
Yeah. Only one. Share. And then you can pop right over there. Okay.
And go into present. Okay, we're good? All right. Good evening, everyone. Well, that's a little loud. I apologize.
That's good because they got to hear you.
Okay. All right. So, thank you everyone for having me here tonight. I'm very excited for this presentation. Tonight I'm presenting on Sustainable Jersey and bronze level certification. We're very excited for what we are about to see and what has happened over the past. Is there an echo?
No, it's for Mike, sorry.
You're good now.
Okay, thank you. And what we have done over the past several months with our green team. So you might be asking, what is Sustainable Jersey? For those of you that have never heard of it, I'm just going to explain it rather quickly. So Sustainable Jersey is it's a program that allows schools to kind of go through the certification process for pre-K through 12, and it provides this guidance and support and recognition to schools that implement these steps for sustainable actions. And there are many actions that schools can apply for and submit, and that is what we did. And the idea is to kind of get our school and our community to be proactive when it comes to facing these challenges in sustainability and other areas as well. And that's the interesting part. So it does cover a wide range of areas. There's 3 actual parts of that. 1 is people, 2 is prosperity, and 3, obviously the planet. That's why it's called Sustainable Jersey. But they're each equal in terms of what we can do to show what we are doing in each of those categories. So for people, it contributes to a strong civil society, to provide the opportunities for all. That is what we're all about, inclusion, and there are some aspects to that we applied for, we'll get to a little bit later. Prosperity, support local economies and wise use of community resources. And then 3, the planet, of course, acting responsible within the environment. So bronze level certification, what does that look like? Districts and schools that participate in bronze level certification complete actions and achieve points. They can apply for either bronze or silver. Bronze is the first level that you can apply for, which is what we did. And districts do not get certified, just to make that clear. This is a school-based thing. So while districts apply and actually help towards the points for all of the schools, the district itself does not receive certification. All of the schools apply through the district and get a certification that way. So bronze certification, this is just their little blurb from the website, means that a school has made a commitment to sustainability and has succeeded in implementing significant first steps. Silver certification means a school has made significant progress in a number of categories. So for us, this is our first time applying, so we're looking forward to possible silver in the future. And just to see for bronze certification requirements, it requires the establishment of a green team. That's a mandatory action, which we did 2 years ago. You have to implement 2 of 14 priority actions. You have to complete 6 of 22 categories and receive a total of 150 points. So I'm proud to announce that all 11 of our schools have received that bronze level certification. So very, very excited for that. And to kind of go through that, this is what currently in the state of New Jersey, the numbers, right, of who's participating, who's achieved this certification status. So 64% of New Jersey public school districts are participating. Participating means you have a policy that the board has approved, as you all did. You click a few boxes and then you go from there. So 64% of those schools, which is 125 schools, are participating. There are 325 certified schools. 292 of those schools are bronze certified, and we are 11 of those 292 schools. So we're very excited for that. And you can see there's 43 silver certified schools. So silver is a much larger achievement, not impossible, but certainly not as attainable, at least in the near future. So just an overview of the actions and how we achieve this status. Just got stuck. There we go. Okay. So this is what is, these are the certification by the numbers and what we received. So for the priority, there's certain categories that are considered priority. You need 2 out of the 14 categories for priorities to get bronze status, and we actually got 4 out of 14 categories with what we were able to apply for. Again, you need 150 points to receive bronze status. We received 165 points. The categories, you need 6 out of 22 for bronze status, and we were able to apply for 9 of them. And total actions, there's no minimum for this. There's just a great number of actions you can apply for. And we ended up applying for 14 actions that we received points for. So you might be asking, what are those actions? And here they are. The first one, and this is a must, is the district sustainability policy. So this is something that was put together by Vicki, and she did a wonderful job that you all read through and approved, and we thank you for that. That policy allowed us to do a lot of what we were able to accomplish here. One being professional development for sustainability. So last spring we did online professional development. It was run by people from our own community, which was fantastic. So I'd like to give a shout out. We had people help coordinate, Molly Smith and John Evangelista, and they helped put together our 2-hour professional development for about 25 staff members and board members and other people, local community members. It's for this PD. We heard about pollinator gardens for Richard and Susan Mosison. We got some sustainability training and learned more about urban gardening and how climate impacts urban areas from John Evangelista, and then we learned a lot about recycling from our friend Mr. DeFeo. So we were very thrilled with that, and the teachers got a lot out of it and hoping to put some of that into action moving forward. So that was 20 points there. We got 10 points for promoting locally grown foods. That occurs through Mascios. Our green cleaning policy and plan, that's part of our larger plan that we have for sustainability. Green cleaning supplies, that's to our purchasing. Obviously, all of our custodial staff and maintenance use green cleaning supplies. We got 10 points for that. Green cleaning training and education program, so our custodians attend these training sessions so that they are using these materials and properly, so we receive 10 points for that. A green purchasing policy, Vicki does her best, as you know, to purchase all type of green items, so we receive 10 points for that. Thank you. Recycled paper purchase, along with our purchasing. Recycled paper is another area in which we receive 10 points. Indoor air quality review, which has been a hot topic, obviously, but that review allowed us to get 15 points, and there's a lot of good things we learned from it, and it helped us here with the certification and what we can do moving forward. Access to healthy water in schools. I just filled up now on my way here, thanks to our water receptacles in each of the buildings, so that helped us get 20 points there. Student participation in the arts, thanks to Jen Corey, our fine arts supervisor, for assisting with that part of the application. Social emotional learning integrated unit, thanks to Mike Bruno, our supervisor of guidance, Kate, for assisting with that. And again, you can see there are those other areas, not just related to sustainability, that sustainability Jersey schools kind of ask you to show what you're doing, and there's valid reasons for that. Green team, that's a mandatory action, 10 points for that. And then against and safe route to school district policy that we have in place as well, another 10 points. So these are all the things that we have been doing, and to kind of put it all together and see what came out of it, it's fantastic that we have 165 points that we were able to put forward, and there are so many things that came of that. And one of the groups I would like to thank is our district green team. So in order to have a district-wide green team, you have to have a member from each school as part of that. So that is what we did. We have a member from each school, 2 from the high school. We were lucky to have a high school student rep, Genevieve Riach, which I appreciate her being a part of that, and she's also very active in the community with the Environmental Commission. And then myself, Vicki, and Joe are part of the committee as administrators. So we meet 4 times a year, as it is dictated by Sustainable Jersey, and then more when we need to, depending on what we are doing. So we're very excited to see what's going to come in the future. We are actually meeting next week for the first time this year to kind of talk about what we're going to do in terms of putting some more things into action. So recognition and future plans. So the Sustainable Jersey website, if you click right here, you'll see, and I won't go to it right now, but there is a link that shows all the participating schools who would just receive recognition. So that is publicized there. Our website after tonight will be publicizing this in all different ways through all of our social media. With that, they gave every school has its own Sustainable Jersey School logo with the name underneath it. So we're going to use that for publication and to promote. And then each school is also going to receive a plaque in recognition, and that's going to occur virtually this year again at their awards presentation, which is on October 20th via Zoom. Normally that would be in person, but this year is still remaining virtual. So, and then in that plaque, there's spots for you to continue to get recertified. So we're looking forward to be able to add that in the upcoming years when this expires. So that's our recognition. And our future plans, like I said, next week we're meeting again as a green team to kind of talk about some of the things we got got this professional development training on, such as recycling efforts, urban vegetable gardens, pollinator gardens, and then just kind of infusing climate change and sustainability within the curriculum. This last year, we always do a large focus around Earth Day for obvious reasons, and then we also did around that same time a plastic toy drive, so that those toys don't go into landfills and instead get reused through an organization called Second Chance Toys. And then we're doing some other things in the fall that the members have actually brought to my attention. And that's the great thing about this, is that these teachers that are part of this, they want to really have an impact on our community and the environment, and they bring all of these ideas and get very excited about that, and excited to see what comes of it. So I would just like to thank all of you again for this opportunity and just for supporting us in this endeavor, and without you, we wouldn't have been able to get to where we are and to achieve this certification. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Capella, for being there. I would like Mr. Heller, as part of our green team, to take the floor first.
Thank you, President Fishman. Well, hearty congratulations to 11 schools in the district, to you as our green team leader, Mr. Capella, for all the building-based leadership having signed on, the support from the central administration, all of us as board members and our various actions, including that resolution many, many years ago where we signaled our intention to participate. It's taken us a while to get there. I think 165 points is nothing to sneeze at. It certainly is more than the 150 minimum. And I look forward to future requests and from you guys in terms of board actions that we can take that benefit all 11 schools as board actions, and also do initiatives that you want to do, whether it's electrifying our small buses that get used only in district. Yes, Vicki, put that on the budget for next year. But thank you again, Mr. Capella.
Thank you.
Mr. Walker, want to go around the room there for anybody else that would like to count?
Sure. Look, anybody else want to offer it? Go ahead, Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. I would like to extend my congratulations to my running mate, Mr. Michael Heller, for sticking with this for so long. You really, really brought this in. Sir, congratulations. And of course, to you, Mr. Capella. One of the really fulfilling moments of being a board member is to participate in some of our hiring where you get to sit and observe. And I remember being there before you had gray in your beard when we hired you for a supervisor, sir. And you really are doing a wonderful job. We knew you would at the beginning. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the presentation. Can I just ask, what's coming up next in your priority list?
So our priorities, I think, really are just to kind of get the students involved in some of these actions, in terms of, them getting involved with gardening in their schools, and the recycling programs within their schools. So that's really, I think, our next focus. And then also, again, like the type of drive we did where we collected toys, so to teach kids that obviously it's important to, reuse instead of to throw out.
Anybody else?
I'll fill in when you're done, if you
Okay. Well, I'll just add in the hearty congratulations. I've watched other districts go through this process. It's rare to see all of the buildings in a single district get this done at the same time. So I just want to highlight that that's truly a real accomplishment to get 11 schools all in line to be able to do this all at once, and really well done. So go ahead, Joe.
Thank you.
I do have to highlight that this was a lot of hard work, as you could imagine. A lot of logistics, a lot of submittals, a lot of information that had to be gathered. Mr. Heller, you brought this to our attention a long time ago. We stuck with it. Here we are. This is a big win for us. Special shout out, as Lou said, to two community members, Molly Smith and John Evangelista, two former Brookdale parents of mine who really came in the clutch because we found out we needed a particular PD in order to gain the points, and they did a fantastic job with that. And Vicki and her department was wonderful because a lot fell on the business office to require the information that we needed. And of course, Lou. Lou took this on head on. He worked day and night. There were times we spoke, on the weekends, at night, before he actually was able to submit all this information. And he really owned this. And I think that's a testament to him as to why each school is going to receive a banner. So Lou, congratulations, and thanks for your hard work.
Thank you.
Good. Dan?
Just wanted to say thank you, Lou, for your work with that. And Shane goes back to the hiring process. I think I go back to 6th grade.
Yes, I believe that is correct.
Yes. But thank you, Lou.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to just say thank you for being here, and my kids and I, we did take part in the toy drive, and I just look forward to more initiatives in the future.
Great, thank you.
Thanks so much for being here tonight. We appreciate it.
Okay.
I think we'll swap out now and have Mr. Orlovsky set up.
Okay. Thank you.
Great work, Lou.
Thank you, everyone.
Now, no pressure on the silver for next year, Lou.
Am I able to log in here, Vicki?
Yeah. He's able to
Yeah, sure.
Catch up that.
You have to X out and
Do I need to log this out, Jenny?
I believe so.
Did I shrink it for no reason? Can't see that far.
You should have the presentation because I sent it to you, is that correct?
Yeah, I just put it in, tried being good and put it in the shared drive, and I just gotta find it.
I think it was called RCP.
Yeah. I got it.
There it is, the top one. Okay, great. Okay, thank you for having us this evening. And we are here to present on a project that we collaborated on at the high school last year, the Race Card Project. But first, would like to take an opportunity to present something really great. I'm privileged to supervise a few departments with a lot of great teachers. But this evening I want to introduce you to one who is exceptional. We have, actually I should introduce a couple people. We have here tonight, as you can see, a teacher of ours at the high school, Mr. Shamsuddin Mayers, and he teaches our Advanced Placement Comparative Government class and our United States History 1 Honors class. With us here tonight also is Mr. Hank Bitton. He is the Executive Director for the New Jersey Council of the Social Studies. So this last year, I nominated Mr. Mayers for the New Jersey Council of the Social Studies High School Teacher of the Year. And he won. So, come on up, Shem.
Congratulations.
I am so proud of him. This award is so well-deserved, as Mr. Mayers is not only such an inspirational teacher for his students, but also someone who is an incredible role model and a model citizen. Sham, this is your award, and I know Hank is also going to say a few things. Here you are.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You got the gift card, I hope?
Please.
That helps.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to be here. And I know a lot of great things about Bloomfield High School, many of the teachers in your department. And I go back to Harry Bloomquist, Nancy Bloomquist, Harry Burkheiser, 20, 25 years ago. New Jersey Council for the Social Studies is based at Rutgers. We have 1,300 teachers that are members, K to 12. Some college professors, and we do curriculum work, professional development, recognize outstanding students in the school, and we recognize an elementary, middle, and Sham, your high school teacher of the year. We had 15 applicants, and so we're just delighted. As I read through the applications with the board, 3 things stood out about Sham. One was his ability to help students to understand human empathy. Any decision that's made at the local board, state, federal government level, it affects people in different ways. And when a teacher goes beyond the content and is able to understand how it impacted children or women or people of color, whatever, workers, that says something. The other thing, Anna Haraka, I think, a Cornell student, graduated from here, and she spoke in the class how Sham really helped her to understand America is a competitive democracy. And we forget that because the news has us focus on divisions, but just about every decision ever made in this country, it goes through different philosophies, different ideas. It's a struggle, and somehow we're able to always find common ground to promote what we stand for: liberty, equality, pursuit of happiness, etc. And the third thing that stood out in his U.S. history class is he somehow always manages to get the voice of ordinary people into the classroom. So it's not just those in the textbook or presidents, but so many times in our history when we were at a point of conflict or a point that seemed no return, there was an actor, an actress, a student, an author, an ordinary person from New Jersey who came and spoke forward. And that's how teachers make a difference. Everything in public education is really getting students involved with civic engagement, learning the importance of searching for truth, and then as they grow up, and whether they're in business or government, they do have an impact on their family and our community. So thank you for inviting me here, and I'm so happy to recognize one of your teachers. I go back to Patterson East Side, 1962, coming to Bloomfield High School, so it's a real honor to be here tonight for this presentation. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Just quickly, a true story that happened this morning. Mr. Flores and I were invited to Montclair State University to meet with the new president of the university. There were a number of different school districts there, and one person from the Newark School District, an educator, ran up to me and said, "Your teacher of the year, your social studies teacher of the year, Mr. Mayers, I'm fortunate enough to have my child in his class, and he's outstanding." That's a true story. That was this morning. Congratulations. We are so proud of you. We are so proud that you're part of Bloomfield School District.
Thank you. Go ahead. Okay. So good evening. Thank you all so much for having me. I'm here. I have been a resident of Bloomfield for about 25 years now. I actually came to Bloomfield High School back in 1999, and I can truly say that coming here to Bloomfield and going to school here really set me on a great trajectory for my life. I deeply love this town. I'm deeply committed to this town, and I think we provide all of our students with a world-class education. I just want to thank everyone that nominated me, supported me, Ms. Imhoff, who really helped set me on a good trajectory in my life. Thank you, Mr. Orlovsky, Mr. Hank Bitton, and also Anna Haraka as well for nominating me for this. It's been a pleasure and an honor. And really, the only thing I'll say is anybody who knows me knows that I am so passionate about the youth of our city, and really this award is about them. It's not about me, it's about educating them and making sure they do better than we all done in this room. So that's really what my heart is as an educator, and I thank you all for recognizing me this evening. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Sure. I'll come on this side, okay?
Teachers.
Oh, maybe we can.
Oh, you did? Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry.
I worked with some of those fellows, so.
Yeah, I worked side by side.
I chose a poor place. I apologize.
Ready? You're gonna look at us. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, that's the lead teacher.
Yes. Okay, good. Thank you. It was a real honor to hear everything about you. Learning new. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank
Those
you.
are wonderful names. He's in good company, this young fellow. Congratulations again.
You got 5 more. I'll be back next year. You got at least 5 more in school.
All right. I think I'm up again to introduce the race car project. Mr. Orlovsky keeps me very busy in the social sciences department. And this year we had a great opportunity to do the race car project with our students here at Bloomfield High School. And the race car project was basically a project that I got to help chair the committee with Mr. Orlovsky, Mrs. Zara, Mr. Tuwitzel, and Mrs. Corey. And what we did with the race car project is we basically used the work of the great journalist Michelle Norris to give our students an opportunity to be able to distill their ideas or feelings about race into 6 words. What we were trying to do with this project is give the students an opportunity and a voice when it comes to the topics or issues of race. Sometimes it can be difficult to have a conversation about race, but we wanted to give our students the chance to be able to do that in a safe place where we could help facilitate a healthy dialogue. Bloomfield is a very diverse community, and we know, as Mr. Jennings always says at the high school, we truly believe that our diversity is our strength. So when we speak about issues of race, we want to make sure that our students can have healthy conversations and we can have a good dialogue where we can be able to just help our students navigate the topic. It's not something that we're not willing to discuss. It's not something that we shy away from, but we are open with these discussions and having them in a healthy way. So what we did with our students was we gave them basically a slide. I don't know, let me see if this slide is here.
That's the last one, actually, if you want to scroll down.
Okay. So here, what the students did in their classes, in different classes throughout the high school, we had about 100 students that participated. They would put their name, and they would basically write 6 words that could distill what their thoughts were on race, and then they put a description below it, and we were able to take that and make a great display of it in a video. And then I think Mrs. Corey is gonna tell us more.
Thank you. So we were really proud of the work that we got back from the students. It was incredibly well handled and very thoughtful, and in a lot of cases very moving. So we had the whole group take all of the slides and go through them just to, grammatically check them and make sure that the messages were clear. Some of the students did insert their own photos there. Some of them found some unique artwork on the internet, but we wanted to find a way to then share that with the community, which was a little bit of a challenge because we had just come back into the hybrid scenario. So we wanted to have the students be able to interact with it in multiple different ways. So we did take all of these slides, some of which stayed true to this form, but some of them the kids did have creative liberties with. So there was some variation in backgrounds and some visual texture, and we made a gigantic poster that lived outside of the athletics office in the main foyer. So students and administrators or teachers, whomever was coming in and out of the building, had a chance to physically interact with the piece. We then wanted to take it a step further, and we created a moving video with all of the slides, and that still lives on the high school website. We will have this presentation available online shortly after I go back over there, but there are links inside of it that you could view both the individual slides if you want to read them that way, or if you like to view the video. We were trying to find music that was compelling as well and reflected a mood, and we were really proud of the kids and the teachers for doing the work that they did. I'm going to hand this back over to Mr. Orlovsky.
And as just to close this out, as Mr. Mayers and Ms. Corey said, This is an example of one of many great collaborative projects that we do throughout the district. And again, I feel privileged and had a wonderful opportunity to work with teachers and Jen and the students who contributed to this. It was not an easy time to do above and beyond last year. And the teachers and students who did really made a difference in this project. And we're so pleased with the results. And this was a pilot year for doing this. So we hope to continue to reflect and set our course for this year and for how we can move forward. So thank you for hearing about this project tonight, and we're happy to receive any feedback that you have to share.
A great job. Thank you. Job well done. Mr. Walker, you want to go around the room?
Sure. I'll just reiterate, I think it's great to see these kinds of projects coming forward, and I give you extra kudos for pulling this off with all the challenges we've had in the last year. So well done. Anybody else want to jump in? Go ahead, Dan.
As we saw in Sustainable New Jersey, these groups are recognizing the importance of cross-curricular area where you use different disciplines and the disciplines work together. I mean, the race card is also bringing music into it, bringing art into it. It just makes it a tremendous presentation and a tremendous project for the kids to do.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice President Walker. Congratulations to the three of you for putting this together this past year. It was not an easy year. It's a moment that you've given our students an opportunity to be introspective, to think about who they are, who they want to be. And Mr. Mayers, as often we board members don't highlight our own children, but as the father of a child who has been deeply impacted by your instruction, thank you.
Could I add something to that, Ralph?
Go ahead.
First of all, Mr. Maris, congratulations. An honor well deserved. Scott Orlovsky and Jen Corey came to myself and Principal Jennings a while ago with this project, and Sal and I asked a lot of questions, and I think this project was unbelievable. The display spoke for itself, especially during our presentation, I believe in June, that took place during the Juneteenth celebration. It coincided coincidentally with that celebration. So great job to Mr. Orlovsky and Ms. Corey. Job well done, and the kids really, really loved it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for being here tonight. We appreciate it. I apologize. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I just wanted to say congratulations. Jen, thanks. Mr. Orlovsky, great to meet you. Mr. Shamsuddin, I've heard your name plenty of times and never had the chance to meet you over the course of the holiday when we did the Juneteenth celebration. So I just want to say thank you, and it's a great honor to really see you here collecting this award or receiving this award. It's very important that we do see not only teachers, but of course male teachers, especially the lack thereof that we have not only in our district, but overall, especially in addition to black male teachers. So again, I want to thank you. Thank you for being the role model that you are, and our children need to see some more role models like yourself. So again, thank you very much, well deserved, and congratulations.
Well said. Thank you guys for everything that you do. Much appreciated.
Okay.
As our guests leave the room, I just want to tell the public that we are going to open up the hearing of the public in just a moment. So this is the first hearing of the public. We've done in the past is open it to agenda and non-agenda items. We will ask Ms. Guo to check her inbox as well as Mr. Atkinson to check phone lines. Remember that we have a maximum of 45 minutes for public comment, and each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. You're going to need to state your name and address for the record. Ms. Guo, do you have any emails?
Yes, I have a few emails. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to read this first group, and these emails are related to COVID testing. And then we'll move on to the next group that's similar about a different or similar subject. So this first one is from James Shahari. Mr. Dottoli and the members of the BOE, it is my understanding from the last board meeting that there are plans to test faculty members that have chosen to be unvaccinated sooner than the October 18th mandate. Can you please provide further details on the status of implementing testing sooner than next month? As a parent of 2 students at Demarest, it concerns me that my children are in close contact with faculty members that choose to be unvaccinated. While it is their individual choice to be vaccinated or not, my children and students' population are not afforded that choice. They are not yet eligible to be vaccinated, and so are 100% dependent on the measures taken by the district and faculty members. Appreciation that there are already many measures in place to help mitigate the risk of contracting COVID. Regular and immediate testing of unvaccinated staff members ahead of October 18th will further help ease concerns. Thank you. The next one is from Valerie Sofontes. Please give us an update on when the testing for unvaccinated staff will commence and how often it will be done. Please understand that as a parent, I feel anxious every day knowing that my children could be potentially acquiring the virus with a much higher viral load from being exposed to staff who are not vaccinated. Thank you for addressing this matter. This next one is from Joe and Drew Farrell. Could you please give us an update on the projected date you will begin testing unvaccinated staff? Also, how often will testing occur? Next one is from Shelley Hutchinson. I would like to circle back to the promises made by Mr. Dottoli on behalf of our district for COVID testing faculty and staff who are choosing to be unvaccinated at a school where 100% of student population is unvaccinated, not by choice. We last heard that a memo was in circulation as of September 14th to get data on which faculty and staff members at Demarest are vaccinated. As we know, our school nurse at Demarest made her feelings to being anti-vaccination public on her Facebook page. I would like to know what your next step is for immediate mandatory testing of faculty, staff members before Murphy's guidance of October 18th. Cases are being found in schools each week, and we have another month to go before testing is required by the state. There is a great sense of urgency for our children who need protection by the adults. We cannot stand by for another month and risk our children getting COVID by the people who are supposed to be protecting them. I demand mandatory testing now. Next one is from Lori Kessler. Thank you for the hard work of the school staff and administration. It is my understanding that they have not started to test unvaccinated staff, in particular the Demarest school nurse, who has been vocal about being unvaccinated. For the safety of our children and Demarest staff, we are adamant about testing start immediately. Next one is from Jessica Brater. Now that the district has collected information on the vaccination status of staff, I am writing to request an update on when unvaccinated staff will begin testing and how often they will be tested. I appreciated hearing at the last meeting that the safety of children is your top priority and that you are open to moving up the timeline ahead of what the governor mandated, and hope you will be able to do so. Thank you. I think these few are related to COVID testing.
Thank you, Vicki. First, I'd like to say we appreciate the questions that come in to the board and to the administration. I want to thank the parents and the students for working so hard to keep themselves healthy, not only in our facilities, but also at home. The Board of Education has received the number of employees who have complied with the governor's vaccine order. We are aware that employees have until October 18, 2021 for full compliance, and during that time, we continue to provide our staff information regarding vaccine protocols and availability. Once the governor's order is fully implemented, staff who opt out will be required to submit weekly COVID-19 tests to the school nurse every Monday prior to resuming their duties. Recognizing the fact that staff still have a few weeks prior to compliance, the district has not implemented an early testing protocol since staff have the ability to schedule their vaccine appointment or provide information requesting an opt-out. Thank you.
Okay, next email is from Bernadette Fernandez. First, what are the guidelines moving forward regarding quarantining? The recent quarantine mandate based on a staff member who was potentially exposed to someone who may have been exposed was extremely ambiguous. The guidelines that were outlined in the Sunday's email were not met. The CDC states the following from their website. Quarantine if you have been in close contact, which is within 6 feet of someone for a cumulative total of 15 minutes or more over a 24-hour period, with someone who has COVID-19, unless you have been fully vaccinated. People who are fully vaccinated do not need to quarantine after contact with someone who had COVID-19, unless they have symptoms. However, fully vaccinated people should get tested 3 to 5 days after their exposure, even if they don't have symptoms, and wear a mask indoors in public for 14 days following exposure or until their test result is negative. Secondly, if staff suspects they have been exposed, are they going to be tested before any actions are taken to avoid unnecessary quarantine, and will they be mandated to test if they have reported potential exposure? Finally, if students are in quarantine and they get tested 5 days after potential exposure and receives a negative result, can they return back to school with proof of the testing? Also, the next one is related to the high school situation. It's from Lori Orash, 46 Gulf Road. I'm a parent of a high school student, and yesterday I learned from social media there was a COVID exposure at the high school and students were quarantining. Today I learned again from social media a teacher was exposed and about 200 students were in quarantine. I called the school to clarify what had happened. While the staff was very responsive, this was a stressful and angst-filled situation that could have been avoided with a simple email notifying parents of the situation. Parents should not be getting their information from other parents via social media. It would be very helpful if the district would put a system in place where all parents of students in a building are notified of a positive COVID test or exposure, and to clarify the affected students were notified. This will help to avoid unnecessary stress and rumors. Also, can you please tell us what qualifies as an exposure and what the protocols are for notifying affected students and what the protocols are for quarantine? So I'll leave these two for Mr. Goncalves to answer first before I go on to the next.
I think there were a number of questions there from the two community members. As Superintendent Goncalves said, we thank everyone, as always, for their input. I think it's important to note that a lot is dependent upon the time we are notified. I believe in this situation where we were notified with the high school on a Sunday night, there was a previous situation where it occurred on a Sunday night as well, and it does require the compliance and cooperation from all those involved. And an overarching statement to this would be that in every situation, no matter the case, we always want to err on the side of the abundance of caution with the decisions we make. We're seeing vaccinated people get infected with the virus. We're seeing breakthrough. We're seeing a lot of different things. So with each case that we receive, whether it's a Monday afternoon or a Sunday evening, we gather, we have procedures in place that filter through personnel in conjunction with an immediate phone call to the health department, who helps guide us through the contact tracing, helps guide us through the identification and notification process for all students or parents. To be more specific, we always suggest that if anyone is exposed or exhibiting symptoms, A, to stay home, B, to get tested, be in contact with your immediate administrator to keep us in the loop. We are going with a 10-day quarantine for any infected staff or student. Parents, in the case of the high school specifically that were noted in these two questions, any parent that needed to be notified was notified. The notification went out Sunday evening around 8 o'clock. Those that were in the circulation of this said staff members' classes were all notified. Principal Jennings and his team did a fantastic job with very little time to form a strategy and a system to effectively and safely have students return to their home. I think that addressed most of the questions. If I missed anything, please fill in.
Joe, I'm just going to add to that. First and foremost, we understand how precious your children are to you. The board and the administration, our parents, moms and dads, uncles and aunts, cousins. We understand the pandemic that we're going through. And for 19 months, we have had the support of this community that I cannot say thank you enough. I will say we work with the guidelines from the CDC and the NJDOH and the local health department, but they are guidelines. And this is something that school districts have never experienced before. So we are working very, very hard to make sure that the decisions we make, the guiding light for us, is what is best for our children. How do we keep our children, our students, safe? It's not a perfect science. We may not always get it exactly right, but the guide that we're using is to keep all of our children safe with all the knowledge that we have from all of these other groups. We are talking to the professionals. We're educators. We're not health professionals. So we're reaching out to those groups of individuals to guide us through this. And I do thank you for your patience, your understanding, and we hear loud and clear keeping your children safe, and we understand our mission.
And I just want to conclude to those two members of the community that this input is extremely helpful from the parent perspective, as Superintendent Gonsalves and I are in constant communication, as we've alluded to throughout the entire pandemic, with other county superintendents and central office. And it seems to be the Wild West in how a lot of this is being handled. We want to do what's best, as Superintendent Gonsalves said, do what's best for our kids, to keep our kids safe. So this dialogue and this back and forth, whether it be through the public session, through the many parents that Superintendent Gonsalves and I have spoken to over the last couple weeks since school opened, through email correspondence, it has been extremely helpful for us in what seems to be, I know it's cliche, a very fluid situation that seems to change constantly. The agencies that we allude to and that we refer to, the guidance is changing consistently. We try to keep up with that as quickly as possible and implement policies and procedures and updates as quickly and efficiently as possible. So we thank you again for your patience and again for the dialogue that we're receiving through these public sessions.
Moving on to the next question is from Donna McGowan. Question 1, how come the windows on the school buses are not open while the students are riding them in order to improve airflow? 2, why are some of the buses so full that distancing is not possible at all, such as on the M20, while other buses are not nearly as crowded? Can the routes be reworked to ease this problem? Number 3, I just received notification that my child has been exposed to the teacher who has tested positive for COVID. Yet, the letter is saying that no children need to be quarantined due to this. This does not follow any acceptable guidance. My middle school child's teachers are not properly wearing their masks during the day. Some are removing them or pulling them away to look not cool, especially since the one teacher is probably the one that tested positive.
Are there more COVID-related questions?
Are there more? Yes, 2, 3 more. Yes. If I may just, with regard to the buses, yes, Mrs. McGowan, windows should all be open. We have reinforced and remind the bus drivers to ensure that windows are open. We will continue to emphasize that and mandate that that's being done. With regard to social distancing on the bus, children are required to wear masks on the bus. We are not able to, with the number of buses we have, and is in compliance with the guidelines that children wear masks on the bus. In terms of the routes, our routes are done based on the location of the students. All our buses are very crowded as we return to school, so every bus is full. Sometimes you might see buses being more empty. That's because some children might opt to have parents drop off or not taking the bus. But all of our 14 buses are pretty much all similar, and the capacity is similar.
If I could add to that just quickly, I do want to remind everyone, and this, I guess, goes back to previous board meetings and dialogue with the public, we are under an obligation to host a full day of school. And with that comes certain specific obligations for students, one of them being busing. And due to that obligation, we are abiding by all the mandates. We appreciate you letting us know of some of the situations, but as Ms. Guo had stated, the windows should be open. We will address that. Masks should be worn. We will address that. But again, we are under an obligation to attend school and to get some of our kids here via bus. In regards to the quarantine situation at the middle school that I believe this parent is alluding to, once we were notified, as I alluded to before, we were in contact with the local health department. based on the compliance of the staff member and the information we received from interviewing that staff member in collaboration with the health department, it was determined between the administration and the health department that the proper mitigation strategies were met, students were distanced where necessary, masks were worn properly, and no child in the middle school situation was within 3 to 6 feet for 15 minutes of duration without a mask being properly worn. So at that point, we made the decision to notify parents, as Superintendent Gonsalves said, to be transparent and to do what's best for your children. But a quarantine was not necessary based on the dialogue we had with the health department. And in regards to not properly wearing masks at the middle school, we'll make sure to follow up on that. Thank you.
Okay, next email is from Laura Hazen. Good evening, board members and district administrators. Thank you for your efforts to make this a safe and successful school year with all students back in the buildings. We are grateful that after so long, our son is able to have a full days back in school with his teachers and classmates. That being said, I am disappointed in the lack of transparency, creativity, and willingness to be proactive in creating a safe environment for our entire school population. As summer came to a close, I heard from numerous co-workers that each of their school districts had communicated their quarantine policies, specifically and especially relating to travel, so that families would make informed decisions about end-of-summer trips. I saw no similar communication from our district and only found out about our policies from our school principals when I specifically asked. This should not be a building-by-building policy, but a district-wide one that is communicated to all. Our school principal did not share the information with the entire school population, but said that the district would be sending it out. Yet, I have still not seen or heard this vital information shared. When questions about quarantine or other policies are asked, we are often told that the district is following CDC, state, and local health department guidelines, none of which provide a clear answer. It seems as if the district is trying to pass the buck on decision-making to other authorities rather than clearly providing the direction we all need. Speaking of state guidelines, the New Jersey Department of Health has strongly encouraged school districts to implement screening testing programs for both students and staff. They even made funding available so that these testing programs are covered at no cost to school districts. This is a proactive measure we could take to ensure that any cases in our schools are not spreading throughout the school populations, and especially for our younger students who are not yet eligible to be vaccinated. This would be a great step towards ensuring a safe school environment. Why has the district been resistant to implementing a screening testing program for students? Lastly, I know there were many concerns brought up at the last meeting about conditions for lunch. I acknowledge that all buildings are different and it would be difficult to provide the same accommodations everywhere. But there must be a more creative solution where we can take advantage of our outdoor spaces to provide a safe environment for all. We all know by now that this virus is much less transmissible outdoors, so this would be the safest space for students to unmask to eat their lunches. Of course, this will get more difficult as the weather gets colder, but we should make every effort to accommodate as much outdoor time as possible now. Thank you. The next one is from Elizabeth Orlando. Good evening. I'm writing to inquire about your current procedures to ensure our unvaccinated kids under 12 are protected from staff who may also be unvaccinated. I understand that regular COVID testing has not yet begun. Anything I just wanted to make a comment about the testing grant. We have filed with the Department of Health for option 1 for the testing grant, and we are waiting for their response. They did acknowledge that they have received our application, and we should be notified shortly of the status. Just wanted to share this information with the public.
I believe the filing deadline was September 13th. Am I
Right, and we
correct?
filed before that.
We filed before the September 13th deadline in regards to funding for testing for unvaccinated staff members.
Just let me just see.
Anybody on the phone?
Yeah, there is.
Do you want to do on the phone first?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Could you state your name and address for the board, please?
Sure. My name is Josh Trojak, and my address is Doris Place in Bloomfield.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I am calling in regards to the superintendent's statement that testing will not be instituted early, trying to comply with the governor's guidelines of October 18th. However, I am really dismayed as a parent of 2 children at Demarest that this is the case. We've heard time and again, and this is guidance that is not changing, that the best way to prevent the unvaccinated children from getting COVID-19 is to surround them with vaccinated people, or, given that that might not be possible, testing regularly. I would ask that this board reconsider that. I understand that you're looking for funding. I am appreciative of that. I'm appreciative of the state of New Jersey for providing that beginning October. However, as we're hearing right now, we've had several cases that are coming up, and were we to have a testing regime in place at this point, we would not necessarily be in this situation. Other districts have implemented that. I understand there probably is a cost to that, but I would strongly encourage this board and our administration to reconsider and implement testing immediately. Thank you.
Are there any other callers?
No, not now, no.
Okay, so I have 3 more. So the next one is from Elizabeth Figenshoe. It is indeed thrilling to have our students back in their school buildings for in-person learning, and I genuinely hope that we can continue this for the rest of the school year uninterrupted. To that end, I am respectfully requesting that the school board and the superintendent address the following issues to create a safer and healthier school experience for our children during these unprecedented time. 1, please make a safe lunch option for every student in Bloomfield. Instead of directing us parents to speak with the individual principals for our children's school, can you, as the leader for the entire district, work with each school to find alternatives to cafeteria-only eating? Why can't high school students with parents' written approval sign themselves out for lunch? Why is there not an outdoor lunch options at the middle school where open space is plentiful? Why are there not more elementary schools finding ways to get students outdoors for lunchtime? According to all scientific evidence, this unmasked gathering in close quarters with limited ventilation is the most dangerous time at school for our children. The alternatives you've been offered to students, either skipping lunch altogether or having parents pick up and drop off their students during this period every day, are unreasonable, unhealthy, and not equitable. There are ways to achieve the necessary changes if you make it a priority by putting the time, effort, and funds into this important issue. 2, please share publicly the reported positive cases of COVID and resulting efforts to contain spread with the schools by quarantine and other measures. We all know there would be positive cases at some point, and that some of the students and staff would need to quarantine as a result. You can build tremendous amount of trust with parents by keeping us all informed, instead of only those directly affected, and prevent unnecessary gossip, worry, and stress. Transparency around these sensitive issues let us know that you are not trying to hide anything, and help us stay informed about the positive steps you are taking to avoid outbreaks. 3. Please add weekly testing of students and staff to the protocol for anticipated positive COVID cases and mitigating unnecessary spread. Funds for this additional layer of protection and prevention have been made available by the state, so please take advantage of them. The scientific evidence supports a multi-layer approach to keeping schools safe for kids, and this additional protection can give our densely populated town a much-needed assist in maintaining open and functioning schools for the duration of the year. 4. Please don't just tell us that you are following the NJ school guidelines as handed down by Governor Murphy as one-size-fits-all answer to our COVID questions and concerns. We know that you are working hard to follow an ever-changing set of vague rules that you are handed, and we appreciate how hard that must be. But we parents also know that those guidance are not a one-size-fits-all answer to COVID safety for our entire state. They are merely a minimum requirement. There are plenty of districts within the state that are less densely populated than ours, that have more modern buildings than ours, and that have access to more funds than ours, and may keep their students safe by just doing the minimum required of them. We need you to not just meet the minimum, but acknowledge the ways that we need more and find ways to accomplish that. We love our town and want our schools to strive, but we also understand that we face specific challenges in facing COVID. Ultimately, we want our children to be safe and healthy, and we want to know that you won't accept less than that standard. Thank you for your time. The next comment is also related to COVID, and it is from Susan Horriet. The Clifton Schools has public dashboard that shows all the COVID cases in the district, the number of students and teachers quarantined, etc. Why don't we have something like this? And she shared a link with us. Next one is from Bill and Sue Jones. In regard to the high school, why isn't there a COVID questionnaire or temperature screening for students? Is there an option for students to socially distance during lunch? The cafeteria is crowded, and the other two options do not permit students to eat. Last one is from Patricia Summers. I appreciate your concerted effort to keep everyone safe. My question is, how will the district handle positive result from someone that had COVID in the past? The CDC has stated that a person can test positive up to 90 days, well after the 14 days contagious period. Given that vaccinated people are testing positive at a higher rate than first expected, will there be testing for the vaccinated as well? That wraps up all the questions I have.
There is another one. Go ahead. Hi, can you, could you turn off your computer?
Yep, absolutely.
Could you state your name and address for the board?
Yeah, my name is Peter Mock. I live at 173 State Street in Bloomfield. I'm a student at the high school. So my question is related to, and I appreciate the board's taking the COVID issue seriously, and I appreciate what the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, their statements regarding the COVID tests at the high school as far as the positive tests. But I didn't hear a lot of clarity as far as what the district policy is for informing the school community about the positive tests, not just the classes and the students involved, but the other students in the building and the parents involved. I appreciate it's a sensitive issue. It sounds like this might be an evolving policy, but it would be good to have some clarity. I would prefer to find out from the district, whether it's from the high school itself or from the social media, rather than from social media. So I would suggest maybe the district do what some of the other districts around the state, maybe post a dashboard with numbers or with just an update, just so that we can have some basic information. So that would be my suggestion. I'd like to hear more about the policy if we have one, and when we might have one if we don't now.
Mr. Natoli, you want
Thank
to take that one?
I'll answer. Is that the end of Mr. Mock's question?
Are you finished? Yes, he hung up.
The board had promulgated policies 1648 and 1649 that perhaps not in the most user-friendly format, but in the policy format, dictate all of the provisions that administration in concert with the buildings use for determining really the highlights or status. What's the status of a particular exposed or positive individual? What is the consideration for mitigation? What were the distancing and utilization of masks? Was there exposure during lunch period with an infected or suspected employee or staff member? And based on both status and mitigation, what is the required notice? That is now dependent on an individual's vaccine status. I do understand that those policies may not be sufficient, so the superintendent is authorizing a protocol sheet. The protocol sheet will be simpler than the policy. It'll be a one-page document. It'll be available to members of the community, and it outlines in draft form. The Board of Education had the opportunity this evening in executive to review the protocol of what members of the public, the community, parents, as well as staff members would utilize during the day and after hours in concert with the position this board authorized, the lead school nurse. The dashboard is something we regularly monitor in concert with our requirements, the county board and the county State Department of Education. The superintendent will be authorizing a form of that to go live for members of the public. To the degree we have reported infections disaggregated by building, we will make that along with the protocol sheet available to members of the public on our COVID drop-down menu. I understand that there are a variety of questions here, and I can't tell you, not a healthcare provider, that all of the answers are comforting. But what we're trying to do in this unprecedented time is seek consistency. As I stated at previous board meetings, the superintendent's directive is health and safety as a primary goal. He has reiterated that both in his commitment to facilities, to infrastructure, and now during 20 months of this pandemic. Protocols have changed. To answer a few of the larger questions, to the degree individuals are vaccinated, students, age applicable, and staff, they are welcome to return absent symptoms to the classroom. These are difficult guidance points because we're becoming more aware through state and federal affiliates that double vaccinated individuals may again test positive. This is guidance that we're interpreting and using, but may be subject to change. We similarly understand that this vaccination of a particular staff member or student
if he or she is of the age of 12, may dictate the information that we supply. And I also hear from a variety of the callers some of the information that may not be satisfying, but we attempt whenever possible to maintain the confidentiality of the individuals who are making the self-report. And that sometimes leads to less than satisfying information for members of the public. To the degree, in our situation at an elementary school a week ago on a Sunday night, we had engaged in our best practice late in the evening to get notification out to the Oakview community. Similarly, in terms of the high school, again, into the evening on a Sunday night, we had done our best to get notification to applicable staff. And to the degree that was grabbed by social media and disseminated, that was not with an intent to deceive or withhold information. It's an attempt to keep information relative to positive or suspected cases within the community scraps for those people who may be impacted the most. To the degree that situation needs to change, the board and the administration will be receptive to those comments. The last question, I think, is pertaining to testing. With respect, the governor had given a certain timetable and had made certain mandates. Could have occurred toward the end of last school year or earlier in the summer, and they did not. And to the degree we have a percentage of our staff who have not yet provided confirmation of their vaccination status. They may be seeking appointments. They may be into one vaccine seeking a second appointment. We are pondering the utility of having regular testing amidst a governor's order deadline of October 18th, understanding that that regular testing may be premature because we have a cadre of our employees population that may have been vaccinated and have not provided that information or intend to get vaccinated and still have a period of time to supply that information. However, if the issue of earlier testing remains a priority of the public, again, just as we have revised guidance that we have attempted to be consistent with, I know this board and administration will do everything to listen to members of the public and try to convey that we are opening schools with the priority of safety, and we have engaged in our due diligence to the degree possible and have made modifications along the way where necessary.
Just before we continue, guys, there's 2 minutes left in this part of public comment. So if we have another caller or one more email, but then we're going to move on and close the first hearing of the public, and the rest will be defaulted down to the second hearing of the public.
We have one more, Jill, on the phone.
We have one more on the phone, Jill.
Yep, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, could you state your name and address for the board?
Yes, it's Shelley Hutchinson, Moore Avenue in Bloomfield.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Appreciate you taking my call. I'm circling back to the superintendent's statement on not testing until October 18th. And I'm just really curious, what is the reason behind not testing before October 18th? It seems to me that, you know, Murphy's statement was made in August, and what we have had is time to get vaccinated if you're working with children who are not able to get vaccinated. And so my question is, you know, what are we doing with the idea that what we don't have is more time? You know, we're trying to keep our schools open, and we're trying to keep our schools, you know, open full-time with our students full-time. And it seems to me that if we hold off testing for another month, that we're risking not only closing our schools if there are cases, but also exposing our children and risking our children's health once again. And my question is, what is the reason why we are not able to test before October 18th? Thank you so much.
I just want to provide the timeline, and then I'll ask Mr. Dottoli to clarify. Thank you for your call. I believe the governor's mandate came out on August 23rd. We started school September 8th. I believe that's around a 2-week window frame, if I have my time frame correctly. The deadline to apply for the funding for assisting in early testing was just this past September 13th. So we are working diligently in order to meet this mandate with respect to our staff that was also notified on August 23rd when the governor made his mandate with an October 18th compliance date. Mr. Tertulli, I know you answered around this question before. Is there anything else that you wanted to add to this caller?
The caller raises a very important and prudent point. There is nothing absent following the governor's mandate of allowing our 1,156 staff members to provide their required notification in terms of vaccine compliance, intended compliance, or opt-out. The triggering point for the Board of Education in terms of the logistical monitoring of what will happen on a weekly basis was using the governor's mandate of October 18th. And as we rolled out our compliance documents, we worked in conjunction with a variety of bargaining units. We ran our guidance by those bargaining units. That took time. That is the nature of working with collective bargaining. But to answer the caller's question directly, to the degree the Board of Education is able to identify a service provider and identify a funding resource and identify a logistical pattern of how we do not become an arm of the Department of Health, but we can properly test employees without a vaccination record on a regular basis, centralized or in point of entry. The caller respectfully, just like other callers and other individuals who raised emails, raised very important points. I think it's threefold. We were allowing employees to comply with the governor's directive and take the vaccine. We were allowing for the funding application to take hold and understand that there's both a cost impact as well as a logistical impact that affects teaching and learning time. And number three, we want to ensure that whatever we do from a health perspective here is important, follows state protocol, but does not interrupt from the charge of this administration, which is classroom instruction. Those have been the considerations. And Sal, Joe, if you wanted to add anything, I believe repeating myself in some of these areas, but the callers raise very, very good points. It comes down to an issue of the directive, rolling out that directive, funding, and then managing that process.
Thank you, Mr. Tertulli. With that being said, we're going to close the first hearing of the public for any emails or callers that are still on the line. We will be opening the floor again for members of the public to speak. For members of the public to speak later on in the evening. So bear with us as we conduct some more of our normal business, and we will reopen the floor for the second hearing of the public. With that being said, Mr. G, we are on to 5A, the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Fishman. First, I'd like to say to the callers and the folks that wrote us the emails, we're listening to you. We're taking notes during these meetings. We're going back and we're discussing these topics. I understand that some of our news may not be satisfying and other may be very satisfying. But at the end of the day, we are working together to do what's in the best interest of children. With that said, on a different note, Mr. Flores and I had the good fortune this morning to go to Montclair State University and meet with the new president of the university, along with several other school districts, and have a really exciting conversation about staffing, curriculum, instruction, professional development, student teachers, things that we haven't been focusing on as much as we like, unfortunately, due to the pandemic and what's been transpiring the past 20 months. I will say this, the new president has a tremendous vision for my alma mater in terms of how he wants to work more closely with school districts on a variety of different issues that affect us in the schools and in the whole community. Joe and I think we're both impressed. Joe, if you want to add anything to that.
Just that Dr. Capel, President Capel from Montclair State was dynamic, and I know I left that meeting very exciting for staff members of ours that have been Musooner candidates and staff members throughout the years. I think exciting things to come for our staff members, which again positively trickles down to our students.
I also want to say that we've had a wonderful opening of school, not without challenges, but certainly our academics, our sports teams at the high school, activities for students that are up and running, seeing students in the schools excited about learning, excited about being with their friends and back in the building is encouraging and making us all feel really good. We know that we have student support, we know that we have parent support, and I do feel confident as we move forward, and it will be a challenging year. With that said, I believe that we will have a very successful year. I'm certainly excited about it. This Board of Education is committed to making sure that our children have the best possible education and the most safe environment that they possibly can have. With that said, that concludes my report. President Fishman?
Thank you, Mr. G. For the President's report, I would just like to report out, I know that a lot of people have reached out to individual board members, the administration, and our athletic director in regards to Foley Field and the damage sustained during Hurricane Ida. Thank you to Vicki and the business office, along with Brett Tomden and Will, who represented them, for our architect, and Beth, our engineer, who walked that entire complex to make sure that they did not leave anything out in terms of the rehabilitation of that facility. And I think that you will be pleased when you see on the agenda tonight that the board has up for consideration a plan to spend approximately $90,000+ to be able to get that facility up and running within the next few weeks, both for our athletic teams, our community, and everyone else that enjoys using that facility. So I just wanted to thank the business office again, the architects, and our engineer Beth for taking the time to make sure that everything that needs to be done to make it not only playable but safe is of the utmost importance and in a timely fashion. Vicki, do you want to add anything else while I have that open? Okay. Other than that, just to, I know people are frustrated, understand the board is very frustrated. I know that you're not getting the answers that you think we should be giving, but we are bound by certain things by the state and the county in terms of the health department and mandates that are coming down. And we feel your frustration. We are just as frustrated as you are. If we were able to, as Mr. Berger always puts it, have more local control, where we were able to do what we want when we want, maybe things could move in a more expedited fashion. But this board has been very good about dotting our I's and crossing our T's and making sure to keep the safety of our staff and students in high regard. And I think our past precedents that we have set shows that. So I understand your frustration, and we want to move forward just as you do in a safe and effective manner. So stay with us. We are working hard behind the scenes. With that being said, I'm going to close the President's report, and I'm going to ask for a motion for the approval of the minutes.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the approval of the minutes? Ms. Guo, may I have a roll call, please?
Sure. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Berger?
Yes.
Ms. Dudley?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Heller?
Yes.
Mr. Morse?
Yes.
Ms. Salinas?
Yes.
Vice President Walker?
Yes.
President Fishman?
Yes.
Thank you.
For those of you following along, we are on number 7, the curriculum and instruction package. I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Berger.
Thank you, President Fishman, and I would also like to thank you for your leadership on the Foley Field issue. There was a lot of calls, a lot of stuff had to happen, but I really appreciate your work. I appreciate the administration for understanding that the board and the community want every second we can get out of the field to try to have some kind of normalcy in an extremely difficult situation. The BOE Curriculum Committee meeting was held on Wednesday at September 15th at 12 o'clock via Google Meet. Myself, Mr. Morris, Mr. Anderson, and our Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Flores, were in attendance. We discussed the opening on September 8th. We also discussed a new mandate coming from Trenton about an 11th grade assessment. Mr. Flores showed us 2 or 3 pages that the state had sent out, and local control is getting ready to kick in on that one. We discussed Mr. Heller's achievement on sustainable schools. Congratulations again, Mr. Heller. We also went over the race card, a little presentation before what the public saw today. We had a slightly late digital photography curriculum guide for review, but the good news is that hopefully when they're taking pictures and they're learning about photography in these grades, that they're taking pictures of our town and of our community and sharing them around. Interesting factoid that we had 521 new registrations on the week of September 13th. Welcome back. That is almost 10% of our student population, which at this moment is 6,175 students. The list of EpiPen delegates is inside your packet. Also, with the professional development conferences, we have some interesting science stuff happening there. And finishing up, we had some additional items for discussion, which was a Start Strong assessment, which is a light and breezy assessment for our students to see where they are. Like, as Sal says, we could take the students where they're at. Let's find out where they're at. And finally, we discussed the backstop program for after school that will begin sometime in October. Thank you, President Fishman. May I make a motion of 7A through 7D, please?
Motion. Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Ms. Guo, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Berger?
Yes.
Ms. Dudley?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Heller?
Yes.
Mr. Morse?
Yes.
Ms. Salinas?
Yes.
Vice President Walker?
Yes.
President Fishman?
Yes. We are on to Finance and Facility. Mrs. Salinas, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Fishman. Good evening, everyone. Our Finance and Facilities meeting met Wednesday, September 15th, opening at 3:30. Present was myself, Ms. Dudley, Ms. Fishman, Mr. Jenkins, present in person, Vice President Walker, Ms. Guo, Mr. Skazava, and Mr. Goncalves. Mr. Jenkins briefed the committee on the damage to Foley Field turf caused by Hurricane Ida. He presented to the committee the repair proposal presented by Land Tech. Ms. Guo indicated that an architect and engineer will be on the site to evaluate the condition and make recommendations as well. The committee will have further discussions once the engineer's report is available. Mr. Skazava provided update on various facility projects as follows. The roof replacement at Forest, Glen, and Franklin, still on target for metal delivery by end of September and begin installation work to wrap up the project the first week in October. The Demarest exterior restoration, the contractor will complete rear stair treads and railing during the summer of 2022. The reasons to delays in procuring the handrail material. Contractual substantial completion is August 2022. The BMS and BHS security camera projects. The BMS project is completed. The punch list meeting is on September 16. The BHS contractor is reviewing the scope of the work with our IT department. And for the Brookdale boiler and Oakview roof, the 2022 summer projects, the projects went out to bid with a bid opening date on 10/7. Mr. Walker pointed out that due to shortage of materials and the demand, bids might come in much higher than in the past. Ms. Guo discussed with the committee the resolutions on September 21st board meeting, the agenda including payment applications for various ongoing construction projects, and acceptance of a grant from the Department of Defense for the BHS robotics team. The committee discussed various requests from PSA to utilize allowances for additional roof repair work at Franklin that were not included in the original bid specifications. May I please have a motion to move 8A through 8J?
So moved.
Second.
Can I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Walker. Before I open the floor to discussion, I just also would be remiss if I didn't mention Steve Jenkins, our athletic director, and his help and guidance as we are getting Foley Field back up and running. So thank you, sir, for your help. With that being said, I open the floor for comments. Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please, Ms. Guo?
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Ms. Dudley.
Yes.
Ms. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Heller.
Yes.
Mr. Morse.
Yes.
Ms. Salinas.
Yes.
Vice President Walker.
Yes.
President Fishman.
Yes. Mr. Heller, the floor is yours, sir, for the personnel and management section.
Thank you, President Fishman. Tonight's personnel and management agenda items include the typical resignations, retirements, rescindments of appointments, new appointments, adjustments, transfers, extra compensation, approval of substitutes, approval of student-teacher field experiences, home instruction, revision to job descriptions, a settlement agreement. With that being said, the Personnel and Management Committee met on September 16th. I was present along with President Fishman and Board Member Green and Mr. DeToli, who wears so many hats in our district as legal counsel and director of administration. We talked about the personnel notes, the items that are on the agenda this evening. We had a conversation regarding the governor's guidance, or parenthetically lack thereof, pertaining to school opening, and particularly the vaccine compliance that is required. Mr. DeToli provided an update with regard to staff member vaccine compliance. Ms. Fishman and I asked questions related to the compliance rate. Ms. Green also had some questions in that regard. Ms. Fishman discussed the possibility of use of federal grant monies for the purposes of on-site testing, and that's something that the district is exploring. We talked about the settlement agreement. Mr. DeToli was very thorough. He invited Ms. Avishon to tonight's executive to answer any of the full board's questions. We talked about a revision to the lead school nurse job description and the confidential personnel secretary job description. And finally, because it was the first opportunity that we had to talk about it, Ms. Fishman did provide an update to the committee with regard to the Foley Field remediation following Tropical Storm Hurricane Ida flooding. And I think that was very helpful to be able to have that discussion. With that being said, I would like to move resolution items 9A through 9M.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Heller. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Any discussion on personnel and management? Seeing none, Ms. Guo, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Ms. Dudley.
Yes.
Ms. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Heller.
Yes on 9I. I abstain on student MR.
Mr. Morse.
Yes.
Ms. Salinas.
Yes.
Vice President Walker.
Yes.
President Fishman.
Yes. Moving on to second read policies, may I have a motion for 10A, please?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Walker?
Thank you, President Fishman. Just a point of clarification regarding policy 2422, comprehensive health and physical education. I'm unclear on the policy as it's come through. I understand that it adds 6 new areas of compulsory education for health and physical education. I assume that that requires that we would have to do updated curriculum guides or some other step to this. I just wanted to find out what are the requirements on that.
The six new statutes that will be addressed going forward in the curriculum are sexual abuse and assault awareness and prevention education, curriculum to include instruction on diversity and inclusion, incorporation of age-appropriate instruction relative to consent for physical contact and sexual activity, health curriculum to include instruction on mental health, information about New Jersey Safe Haven Infant Protection Act, infusion of African American accomplishments into school curricula. These are the 6 new statutes that were recently improved and codified, so they'll be included going forward.
Right, but just so I'm clear, those go into the curriculum guides? Is that what the next step is after the policy, or how does that get implemented?
The next step will be they'll be folded going forward as the curriculums need to be updated in the phys ed realm or department.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Can I interject something as well? Just taking a look at the policy guide guidance, there were just the addition of 6 new statutes that needed to be included. So it really didn't change any of the existing language that was in the policy. It just added the 6 new statutes.
Thank you, Mr. Heller. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Whoops, seeing none, can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Guo?
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Ms. Dudley,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Heller,
Yes.
Mr. Morse,
Yes.
Ms. Salinas,
Yes.
Vice President Walker,
Yes.
President Fishman.
Yes, we are now on to the second hearing of the public. It says non-agenda items. We've opened it up as both, as we have done in the past. Remember, there'll be a maximum of 45 minutes for public comment. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. You'll need to state your name and address for the record. You can either dial in and talk to Mr. Atkinson, and I believe Ms. Guo might have some more emails for us from a carryover from the part 1. So Mr. Atkinson, we'll start with you first on any callers.
No, not right now.
Ms. Guo?
No emails?
Okay, seeing none, I will close the second hearing of the public and move on to business. We're doing delegate and ad hoc committee reports first.
President Fishman, I'm raising my hand, but can't.
You're cut off on my screen, Mr. Heller. So,
I know. There, can you see my big bald spot now?
why don't you go, and then Ms. Salinas can go as well.
Thank you, President Fishman. I attended a joint Bloomfield Township Recycling and Environmental Commission meeting. It was a bit of a carryover from earlier conversations that we've had in the Bloomfield Recycling Committee, but the focus was to learn about food waste digesters, which are basically fancy industrial compost machines. The idea is that you take any of your food scraps and you put your food scraps into the digester, and after a period of rotating and heat, they turn into earthen gold that can be used. The interest, of course, is driven because there's legislation that says that communities need to reduce the amount of food waste that they have in the refuse that they have, without really giving any financial support or guidance as to how you do that. There are large-scale industrial food digesting operations. They're the small ones that we all may have in our backyards with composting, but this is about a mid-range solution. And of course, the township has provider of food waste that could be used. The questions that I had on behalf of the board and the administration were, how often does the food need to be collected? Who is responsible for doing the food separation so that you can do that? Do you set up small pails in a freezer-like compartment and then you come and pick them up every week? Or do you have to remove things daily? And if you have to remove them daily, how do you do that? How do you do that in a school setting where we don't have visitors? So there are a lot of questions surrounding this. I don't think there's any action at this point, but it may actually be something that would be an interesting topic for the district's green team to consider, to see if it's feasible within our schools. There seem to be a lot of great opportunities, but it also will offer some significant challenges.
Thank you, Mr. Heller, much appreciated. I'm going to ask Mr. Flores and Mr. G to follow up on that, and I'm going to ask Mrs. Salinas now to take the floor.
Thank you, President Fishman. This is just a reminder for my colleagues that we have our Essex County meeting tomorrow night, Wednesday starting at 6 p.m. There is a virtual component which starts at 7:15 p.m., but in order for us to get Board Academy credit, we have to be in person, so that's just an FYI. It will take place at the Woodland in Maplewood, starting 6 o'clock at dinner. Thank you, President Fishman.
Thank you, Mrs. Salinas. Is there anyone else? We're going to move on to new business, old business, and information items. I see Mr. Walker.
Thank you, President Fishman. I just wanted to share with my colleagues and the community at large, tonight marked the start of a new venture for Bloomfield. There's a new farmers market that's opened up at the library on Tuesday nights. This is something that's been worked on by the township for the last few months. I am selfishly promoting this because my wife is heavily involved, but it's a nice opportunity to get out and support some local businesses, and it ties in with what we've been doing with Sustainable New Jersey and with a number of other green initiatives in town. So I hope you'll check it out.
Mrs. Salinas?
President Fishman, I'm sorry. I wanted to mention to my colleagues and also to the community, I did attend the first HSA meeting at the high school, and please check our district website for our classes. They are in need of fundraising for all the classes starting at 2022. During the past 18 months, these classes have not been able to fundraise, so it'll be difficult for them to do anything at the end of the year. So please, I ask the community to please be involved, to support your local businesses, and to please support our students. Thank you, President Fishman.
Thank you, Mrs. Salinas. Anyone else? Mr. Heller, I can't see you, so if your hand is raised, let me know. Okay, I got the thumbs down. Seeing none, it's time for everybody's favorite part of the meeting, called adjournment. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for coming.